It's time to unravel the hidden mysteries of the universe. Time to uncover the truth hidden beneath the veil of lies. Time to transport your mind from the perverted matrix and connect with your higher consciousness into the world of the divine paradigm. The divine paradigm. And now your hosts of the Divine Paradigm, Dr. Sasha Lessin and Janet Kira Lessin.
Aloha everyone, and welcome to Divine Paradigm on KCOR Radio at kcorradio.com. And I am your host, Janet Kira Lessin, with my incredible co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. And today we have a very exciting, super exciting show with William Whitecrow. And William has been, for over 50 years, has been researching the planet and society as a whole and how they interact together on a global basis. He's also an avid researcher of paranormal and UFO activity across the planet. He's a business owner, writer, radio show host, and international radio personality that has brought to light many of the situations that are affecting our planet and mankind at the present time. He's a shaman and seer of future events, which has been documented by many, including the 9/11 event, the collapse of the St. Louis Bridge, the Mount St. Helens eruption, and the Fukushima situation where we are seeing unfold right now across the Pacific Basin. He has a deep understanding and connection not only with the planet but with people as well. He's a Vietnam veteran and understands the realities of war and peace. He's also been involved with several secret limited access programs, which he has only recently agreed to talk about. He sees what's really happening in the world around us as far as the Earth and humanity as a whole are concerned. His recent book titled, Are You Tired of Living a Toxic Life? Is now available on Amazon.com, and it deals with personal choices and change, which is much needed in our world of today. His mission is to wake up people to the reality of our situation as a species here on our one and only home planet, Earth, and what we can do about it. He has predicted two futures for mankind, and both of them depend on the decisions we make now. He has a favorite saying, I'm a highly developed spiritual person, but I'm a realist as well. I live in this world too. His mission is to help people understand that there are some things that we can't change, but there's a lot more that we can change. Humanity needs to understand that we are in a pivotal point in human history, and we have the ability to choose whether we are going to become part of the sixth great extinction, which is taking place right now, or advance to a higher level of humanity as a species spiritually, intellectually, and technologically. It's all up to us. And his website is williamwhitecrow.com, and I invite you to go over there and look through that. Dr. Lessin, come closer to the mic, and what would you like to say?
Well, of course, like everybody else, I'd like to know what you see in the future, whether you're getting any clear visions of future events. Those are always fun. But I got to say, it's like I'm one of the people that's interviewed Andy Basiago extensively, and I could feel the total truth about his testimony and what he's sharing. And I've watched people stand forth and witness him and have the courage, and you've just done that too, to really say, yes, we have been on Mars and the moon, and here's what we've been doing. And I hung out when I went to the Mars conference with a bunch of people that spend their days looking at pictures that NASA released of the moon and Mars, and trying to take off the white off or whatever it is. And we were looking at these on the screen, and then William, you came through, and your pictures, oh yes, that's a this and that's a that, no, yeah, and I walk by this and I walk by that. So you are the witness to Andy Basiago's telling the truth that we all have to know. And when I started listening to you, I realized, wow, and you've got your truth too, and a hell of a lot of wisdom. So I'm really looking forward to what you got to say, bro.
And thank you, William Whitecrow, for coming on our show today. I know there's a lot of directions we could take this show, but I'd like you to start and tell us what you want people to know about yourself and your work. And, for the first section here, you take us on a journey, and then we'll direct it to the second and third. Take it away.
Oh, okay, you bet. you. Well, thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm glad you guys made it to the Mars conference and everything. What Andy has to say is very important for humanity and mankind. He's not somebody that's just been out there doing this all his life to create a comic book or anything. This is reality to him. And I'm going to be honest with you, he searched for me for about 30 years or a little more before he found me, because it's very hard to find me. I made sure of that, because of the life I've lived and everything. And when Andy came into my house, he turned around and he had mentioned some situations and some people's names, and my wife got tears in her eyes because she thought that I was going to go back in the programs and stuff. So that's how it affected us here, and I had to calm her down. It's okay, dear. All's well. I'll just tell, what Andy needs here, to back him up and let people know that he is telling the truth. I trained the man, so I know he's telling the truth. As for me and my purpose here, and the reason I became a shaman is because of going through all these programs and my experiences in life and understanding where mankind is now and where he is heading. And the things that I've seen in the future, depending on what man's modes are and the changes we make now, we're in a very precarious situation right now as human beings. And I don't care what anybody else says out there. It's a stone cold fact. You can step out your front door and look at it and see it. And I've been gathering information about our society. I've been gathering information about our planet and putting it all together. And a lot of people only want to look at, the global weather change or a political this or that, and everybody likes to argue with one another because we've been taught to be separated. We haven't been taught to come together as a species together and stop the warring and everything and work for a common good. And right now, that is a very important thing for us to do, is all of us work towards a common goal. The systems that are in place now are inappropriate. They're not working. We have to evolve to a higher plane of existence, a higher plane of thinking, because we've been kept in these loops for generations. And I think you guys know as well as I do that after 1 or 2 generations after something's gone by, nobody remembers anything from that point before. Right. We have youngsters right now in their 20s, and the 18s and stuff that have no idea what the 70s and 60s and 50s, and things of this were like at all. Like when we had the oil shortage and things like that, and people waiting in line, we're getting ready to do that again to a point. There's other aspects that are going on here that we can get into later. But my main thing is really try to help humanity understand exactly where we're at right now, environmentally, planetary-wise, socially, politically, and everything. Get the big picture out there going so everybody can kind of wake up, shake their head, throw some cold water on their face and say, okay, now I know where we're at. So our future generations will have a chance, because we have to change. We really, really do have to change. There's a lot at stake here for humanity. And like I said, and you read it right there, we can either become part of the 6th great extinction, or we could take the steps to move into a brighter future.
Right on. And that's what I keep bringing home. I'm a very psychic person. I'm a lifelong experiencer, and I have seen the future in many various ways. You mentioned that you see the future and you see 2 major timelines or what do you call them? Multiverses. How do you access the future? Are you using technology? Are you using your own shamanic psychic abilities, or a combination of things?
Well, the first thing that it always comes with is my own shamanic abilities. The things that we all have naturally within us that we pay little attention to. That those 2 little voices, one sits on one shoulder and the other sits on the other. Yes, no, yes, no. You're always fighting one another. With me, everything started out with me visions. When I was very, very, very young, and they kind of scared me, because I didn't know what they were until the elders started telling me, you're not seeing things now, and you have to understand these are things in the future. And the second way was when I was working within the organizations, the projects, shall we say, and I experienced the actual aspects of time travel, teleportation, things of this myself. And through Andy and I had seen 2 different timelines. And that's when I turned around and I kind of jumped for joy when I heard that, especially coming from him, because part of what we did, we had to jump to multiple timelines to see what was going on, variations. And that's part of the reason we're kind of having Mandela effects right now, actually, is because of what we consider ripples in time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the Mandela effect. I was shown 24 multiple potential timelines when I was 4 years old in physical form, but once I was on board ship, I was in my immortal self form. And these were the most likely possibilities of where humanity would go based on what was happening in 1958. So I'm aware of that, and it's very easy to simultaneously hold timelines and slip back and forth between them. So that's how I time travel, but I'm not sure how I do it. But I just do it, and it's part of probably who I am as a physical being, which is a hybrid with many a lot of kind of like tall white type genetics within my physical form, and then who I am as a soul, and I have access to who I am as an immortal being. So I'm aware of that, yet I'm totally human just like everybody else. So with that in mind, what are the two pivotal timelines that you and Andy have identified, and can you describe them a little bit for our listeners?
Well, Andy, he was delivering information and things of this nature to particular individuals, and in his timeline and everything. And one of the timelines that I went on with scientists and everything, I've seen a future, year 2045 and everything. It didn't look too good planetary-wise at all. And now society and people were okay. We had a population was dropping, things of this nature. Everybody knows by the year they say by 2050 we're going to have 9.6 billion people. We're at 7.6 billion people right now. You know what I mean? And we live in an enclosed system. And this is one of the things that when I was working with the scientists that they really helped me understand. The actual words of one of the scientists, when I was saying, they got a lot of trees over here and this and that in our planet. I don't see, we plant more trees. And he goes, not now. He goes, now you would have to plant the entire United States in trees just to make a 10% difference in the CO2 and stuff in the air. Wow. And I was like, whoa. And he said, but this is what we're going to do. We do have these multiple timelines. We have to check them out. So the first thing that you have to do is go in and reconnoiter an area where these scientists are going to be. And I've seen the whole entire Southwest is dry and barren. Not saying that they wouldn't have rainstorms, but when you do have rainstorms and stuff like that, water washes off fast. So the water isn't held in the ground. It'll go in a river and go somewhere else real fast. So that's what we're seeing in a lot of places. I see in the northeastern area a lot of rain, a lot of snow, a lot of things like this. I see deserted cities and things like this in certain areas of the Southwest. We're starting to see more of that. Mega water problems, mega food shortages, things of this nature. And the big thing that I've seen also that scientists were talking about was transportation of the food sources and natural resources are going to be disrupted. And I didn't quite understand that in the beginning, but now I do, because of environmental factors, political factors.
Wait, let me understand it. You're saying that the only food you'll be able to get is what you grow near you, or something? I didn't quite understand that last part.
Transportation and food are disrupted.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, basically, basically what I've seen was because of droughts, because of political unrest. I've seen a great division within our country as well. I've actually seen the United States broken up into 5 different pieces, where there's civil unrest and everything in the future, things of that nature. I did also see us in a major conflict where several countries were involved and there were nuclear weapons involved, which I don't like to see that because I don't even like to talk about that kind of stuff. I try to look better toward the future. But as I said before, there's some things in time you can't stop. You can only, shall we say, slow them down for a period of time. And, they're going to happen. Everything isn't set in stone, per se, as a lot of people think. And now, of course, with the Mandela effect and the ripples in time and things are changing as well. So it's kind of really fluid right now. But I do see food shortages. I do know for a fact there's going to be water shortages. I know them just as well as I know my own name, Mm-hmm. And these are the things that I've seen. I did see a massive amount of poor people. And, cities, the law enforcement, everybody moving towards cities and letting the rural areas kind of go and stuff. We're starting to see this all over the United States now, And I also seen the United States alone for a period of time, where none of its allies and everything were really helping out much. It was like a kind of, our political people put ourselves in kind of a bad situation. it gets straightened out over time. But we got some hard times ahead of us, economically, food-wise, and things of this nature.
So let's call that timeline A. Now, is that the timeline where there's 9.5 billion people?
Yeah. No, well, see, that's what they're projected. By 2050, we're supposed to have about 9.6 billion people. Now, one of the things that the scientists told me about was we live in an enclosed system. That's what I was going to touch on. We live in an enclosed system. Our planet cannot run down to the local drugstore and get a new atmosphere, get a new ocean, gets a little more ozone for its the good ozone layer and things of this nature. It is an enclosed system. Therefore, its resources are not forever. Once you use up what you have in an enclosed system, then you're going to start having problems. You have to leave the planet to go find other sources of resources and stuff. And that's part of the reason we're seeing NASA really trying to find other habitable planets. They're looking at Mars again and doing all kinds of things right now, and keeping the social unrest and the fear thing going, so we really don't get together and work together and do what we need to do. That's what I see.
So that is an agenda. I'll let you do the next question. But is that a political agenda that somebody, the powers that be, are intentionally, creating so that we basically abandon planet Earth and colonize, Mars and beyond? But we don't have the lotto ticket for that. So basically, it seems like what we're seeing with the proposal, that they just want to kill us off, and that's what George Green and other people talked about, the depopulation. And so I'm wondering if the depopulation agenda gets kicked in before we reach that 9.6 billion.
We're
projected based on,
and we're doing that.
Yeah,
we're doing that right. Yeah. We're doing that right now, and that's how come we're so close right now. If we were with another president right now, we'd already be in the conflict. Because this other individual that wanted to be president, of course, I'm not going to mention any names, but we actually heard this one particular individual saying it's time for the mass culling. And this was in the 70s when I heard this, late 70s.
Right.
Wow.
It's time for the mass culling and time to get rid of the useless eaters. Now, this is the presidency. So when you hear things like this, you go, what's going on? And then you start putting all the pieces together and you realize they're going to put us in another war. There has to be a massive population drop as far as they want. And it doesn't matter what the president wants or anything, because the president, we have 17 level security than he is. So he's on need-to-know basis only, and that's unfortunate in many ways for a lot of presidents, but that's the way it is. Our countries and things are not run by presidents. It's run by the power brokers. And the power brokers are very, very powerful. That's why we need people like Andy and other people like you guys out there telling the truth of what's going on and what we can do about it. Because we're in for some very interesting times right here in big ways, and people better be prepared for it. Spiritually, now this is a key thing. You can be prepared spiritually and physically. Like I said in my thing, I'm a highly spiritual person, but I'm a realist. I know what me and my family are going to go through, and you and your families are going to go through here in the not too distant future. So it would behoove us all to start paying a little bit of attention and getting our things ready. The areas that are going to be growing zones are going to go up higher because our planet's tilted more. There are just so many, I can see the whole picture, and there are just so many little facets here that people are not paying attention to. But again, that's why we have these radio shows, so we can get the information out there.
Okay, Sasha has a question.
Oh, it's just if I could summarize or really understand, one of the profound things that you were talking about is that the inevitable outcome of an extractive economy that doesn't balance things out by adding stuff means that you exhaust the planet ultimately and ruin it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's how come we have a breakaway civilization out there right now, and the secret space program and everything going on. They're preparing to leave. They're not worried about me or you or anything else. They have certain people, and like I like what you said. We don't have the lottery ticket,
Right.
So we're not going to be on those craft and in those programs out there. We know, some of us know our genetics are going to continue on. That's just the way the programs work. If you've been in the programs, your genetics you can bank on it. They're somewhere.
Oh, I've been.
If
I've
they're
been in programs. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
won that lotto. I've been in their programs. I won that lotto. I'm definitely in their programs.
Me too. I won that one too. But the thing about it is, a lot of family members and other people out there in humanity aren't. Now, the fact of the matter is, and this is the reality of the situation, no matter if we had the spaceships and everything, not everybody's going to make it. It's just the way nature and things are in reality. But what we can do as a species is take ourselves up to the next level. We're a class 0 civilization right now, but we are a stone's throw away from being a class 1 civilization. The only thing stopping us is our...
Yeah, so what's plan B? What's that one like?
Oh, wait, before we go to plan B, I have a couple more questions on plan A.
Okay.
Sure.
Because I want to know a little bit more about you and your involvement and what you've seen and heard and understand. Because I have my understanding, and I interviewed thousands, or no, I may be exaggerating, hundreds of experiencers, and we have we're collaborating our stories, and there are common themes. Like Tolik and I both have been shown the 24 multiverses, 12 of which were kind of negative and 12 which were positive, all the way up to total utopia and to the other end of total apocalypse with the planet blowing up. So we've seen these different paradigms, possibilities. So to me, from my understanding, that nothing's set in stone, even we ourselves individually and collectively as the observer participant, we're not locked into a timeline. We are the chooser, and we can decide where we're going to go. So we have these two main timelines that you and Andy have seen or been shown or are within the programs that our government, I guess these are some kind of military programs that he was involved with that many of the experiencers are, although mine I think are outside of this box a little bit. They're showing me the potential perturbation. So what type of beings, entities have you interacted? What is your understanding of the politics going up to the highest level, beyond the Republicans and the Democrats and the Brits and everybody on the European level and China? There's somebody above that. Who is the all-seeing eye? Who is the pop?
You're talking, well, the name, shall we say, you're not going to get a single name, but you will get that upper 1%, to 2% of individuals that do know what is going on and how things are operating. And it's all interagency, all multiple country assets, everything all pulled together, kind of like a backdoor policy. And when I was in the programs and dealing with them and stuff that I had dealt with 4 different non-terrestrial beings, even though they're here terrestrial now. They've been here longer than we have, but the politics that are going on behind the scenes right now, and I just talked to somebody just last week and everything, are everybody's in the get ready mode for throwing everything into high gear, and that's what we really are seeing out there right now. Everything is going into a high gear, the controlling mode. That's how come the Trump thing and all these other people around the planet are worried about the environment, because so are these other beings. We have to understand that this planet isn't just ours. This planet doesn't belong to just us. We're stupid enough to think that. Arrogant, I guess, could be the word to use.
That's it. That's it.
We're so arrogant to think that we are the smartest, we're the best, and we know what's good and we know what isn't good. But yet we've seen the president that the White House, even in the 50s and 60s, zoomed by UFO crap, and nobody wants to admit it. The United States is scared right now. A lot of the people in power are afraid right now because these other beings are starting to come out and deal with the regular people, because they know that dealing with the governments isn't going to do any good. The negative aspects of our, shall we say, the others or visitors are. They're the ones that's creating the chaos in the world right now and the things of this nature, because that's what they do. They control, and they've done it since the Anunnaki time. In the ancient Sumerians, they set up systems the way things they wanted them to be. Well, those systems don't work, and they're falling apart right now because of their control systems. There's another system coming into being right now, which I am very, very glad to see and everything, with these beings and everything coming to say, listen, you're at the apex right now of your own civilized world. And they've contacted you people, me, and many people out there. And they're showing themselves and letting us know, so proving that we're not going to get disclosure the way we want it from the government. So the disclosure is now coming straight to the people. And that's what I see.
Well, we're coming up on our first break, but before we get there, I just want to know, what are the 4 species that you've interacted with?
The particular ones that I've been interested with, 2 of the grays. I've seen the Nordics, as they call the whites, whatever, and dealt with them, and also the mantids, I should say. It's kind of like the ultimate of mental and understanding, period. So those are the ones that I've dealt with. There's another 5th group out there and everything, but you believe it or not, we're having a turf war out there right now, within our solar system and things of that nature. So we have to kind of really be aware of what's going on, because the negative aspects of these beings also are trying to deal with this.
Have you dealt with the reptilians at all?
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and
so
there's different factions. That's the 5th group that I was talking about.
Okay. We have 2 minutes to break, so when we come back after this break, we're going to focus on a little bit more about what we just said this first half hour. What did you want to say, Sasha?
I would really like to know about the Pegasus and the Mars Jump program, and what's on the moon and what's on Mars. And if you would shoot us or let us use some of your pictures, because the stuff that I saw in your presentation when I was in Alabama was the best photos, the clearest I've seen of the surfaces. And so I'm really excited about what you showed us there. If it's up on your website, we'd like to be able to show it.
Yeah, we'll find that link. And also, we have to deal with timeline B. So I don't know if we've exhausted timeline A, but we got to go pick up timeline B. Okay, we are almost to the music here. Here we are. And you have been listening to Divine Paradigm on KCOR. We'll be back after this 6-minute break.
You are in the Divine Paradigm with Dr. Sasha Lessin and Janet Kira Lessin, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Some call it the height of human civilization.
Share your thoughts by calling the KCOR Digital Radio Network hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide colors use Skype name KCOR Radio. More positive potential revealed in the exploration of the paranormal after this.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network. Broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist. This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots of the higher consciousness.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Become part of the show by calling the KCOR Digital Radio Network hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide colors use Skype name KCOR Radio. Tweet your thoughts anytime by using hashtag KCOR.
It's my favorite thing to do every day.
Escape the Matrix and join the conversation live in our chat room at www.kcorradio.com. Now, back to Divine Paradigm with your enlightened hosts, Dr. Sasha Lessin and Janet Kira Lessin.
And yes, we are back, Janet, Sasha, and William White Crow. What do you want to say before we bring back William?
Okay, well, just before the break, we were talking about how, William, you saw that humanity had 2 timelines that were we were at a place to choose, and we were looking at the timeline that was very painful and a downer. That's one possibility. I don't know if we exhausted what that one was like, and then we were going to then look at what the going down a positive ascension timeline would do. And of course, I'm an existentialist, so I say, can't we embrace both in some way? Or maybe both are going to happen. Maybe different people will go different ways, or whatever lessons we need in our karmic development will be there for us, whichever path we take. Anyway, I really want to hear the rest of Plan A, if there's any more, and what Plan B is like.
Yeah, I like what you said there, and because that's exactly how it's going to be. A little bit of this and a little bit of that, Mankind, ourselves, each as an individual, is making, I do this every day. I walk out on my front porch and I look up and go, what are we doing? I can't do this anymore. We have to get the truth out there, what's going on. We got to help people understand there's something past the destruction, something past the anger, the hate, the fighting of religions and race and everything of this nature, and more people are getting on that train, which is good, because now people are starting to look at the way things have been and understand the control factors of what's going on and say, well, we can make a difference in our lives. Like me, I'm totally off the grid, 100%. Literally, my friends out there, I'm not part of your matrix. I don't even exist in that. I see good things happening out there and bad things happening, and I have to just accept that. And I know we're going to have bad environmental this and environmental that, but that's not going to change, man's heart. Man is going to change his heart and look and strive for the betterment, spiritually, economically, and every way around. I've seen this. This is a really good thing. This is that other plan, not the bad plan, the good plan, because certain parts of society and humanity are waking up. And as the Hopi said, there's going to be a split. There's going to be those that are going to follow the old ways, and the money and the greed and everything, and they're going to go by the wayside. And then there are those who are going to follow the enlightened path. Now, just because you use the word enlightened path doesn't mean that, it's all fairies and everything's going to be okay. No. What that means is we come to the realization of a reality, that we have to change our hearts and our minds and our directions. That's what that means. So I really like what you said there, when you said, or is it going to be a mixture of both? Because that's exactly what it's going to be. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, partly how bad it is, or the adversity that we see, is the challenge. So when you see unfairness, then your cause becomes justice. When you see ugliness, beauty becomes your path. And so it's, I think the purpose of the irritants is to activate us, to give us an opportunity to transcend our boundaries and be more inclusive. Basically, empathy and love is where it's all at. And I guess I want to know if you have any specific kinds of, have you met charismatic persons like Jesus that are around to help us through the transition? Have you met anyone like that?
Yes, I have. I've met two individuals, and both of them, one was a hybrid. We're all hybrids. That's one thing I like to get out right now off the top. It doesn't matter what anybody wants to think out there. From the very beginning to this point right now, we're all hybrids, and it's really important for everybody to understand that, because once you understand that, it frees you from the dogma and all the other crap that people are trying to throw in your brain to stop our development. I was told by these beings and everything, right straight up off the top, humanity is going to go through a very hard time, but we have to go through this hard time in order to take the next step up in classification of who and what we are as a species. And we're seeing that out there right now. And they are there to help us, but we're not going to be helped until the humanity en masse starts to make the move into the directions they need to, instead of following the presidents and all these people and their political agendas. And you can see how they keep everybody in a loop generationally. But we're starting to break free from that, which is a good thing. So, that's how come I have hope for mankind. Because I know that we're going to go through some hard times, but you have to go through hard times to grow. Without going through hard times, there is no growth. Without conflict, you cannot move forward. And that's where humanity is at right now. And that's that other timeline. We do have a very good timeline that Andrew and I have both seen and everything. But we're going to have to crawl through some dirt and go through some crap to get there, because we do have to change our ways of thinking and ways of being. The key that they told me, this is a very important key here, is we have to let it all go, clear our minds, and start anew as a new species. And you see a large portion of society wants wanting to do that right now. They just don't know how to do it because of all the smoke and mirrors that are going on right now. But it's coming, and it's happening.
Very interesting. I was shown the 24 timelines, and they said, which one do I choose? So I chose the third one from Utopia because Utopia was too boring. There wasn't enough catalyst to motivate people to do things. So yeah. So let's get back to the species. It's great what you guys have been saying, and I really appreciate that. And I don't think it's set in stone. And I know a lot of people say we have to go through these hard times and this and that, but I think that's a choice. And I'm going to play that one out in my own mind and with the people I talk to. Is that we call it the apocalypso, and my girlfriend even wrote a song called Apocalypso. It's like, and that's what the agenda has been pushed in our faces since the beginning of modern time with the story from Revelations and Jesus and all this apocalypso stuff and Armageddon and the apocalypse. Right. So I don't think that's set in stone. I know everybody has good hearts and well-intentioned, and we need to prepare and yada, yada, yada. And there's all these survivalists groups and even Revolution Radio and all these other things that are going on. However, I work with the light side of the force, the good ETs, they're saying, we can stop this today. We can stop this tomorrow. We can stop this at any time. And part of it is our individual choice of getting onto the high spiritual path. It's a law of attraction and action, and we are co-creating this all. So, and then we were just talking to Chris Hardy. I recommend go back and listen to her interview. We're talking about, getting into this meditative state, which shifts us automatically higher and higher every day. The more we engage in this meditation where we allow the higher consciousness to communicate with us. We're always putting stuff out, and we're always interfering with our own downloads from, listening to the Matrix and all the bullshit that's out there. So anyway, with that being said, I'd like to get back to some ABCs of your experiences, and I'm very curious about the beings you've interacted with. On what basis was that? Was that as a contact your experiencer, or was that in your, I want to call it military service, but it's more than that, the breakaway secret space program type service? Please take this, tell us what you want to tell us.
Well, basically my experiences with the others, and that's what we call the visitors. That's what I've always used that term. It's just a lot easier for people to understand. It's been going on since before the military. When I was 5 years old, I started having experiences. I went and lived with my dad near March Air Force Base. The next thing I knew, there was things looking in the window at me and everything, and they were the tall grays, and scared me to death at first. But then over a period of time, I understand that there was nothing to be afraid of, with the individuals that I was dealing with. Now, I'll give you a quick example here of my experiences, and there's been ongoing experiences all my life, and it's always keeping me in check. Okay. I had military experiences where I've seen them and interacted with them and stuff of this nature. But my own personal experiences on what's going on in the world, what's going on with me, all the things that I've been able to see in the future and predict and everything, really comes from experiences with these beings without any military interdiction or any interference whatsoever. And I think that's a big difference between me and a lot of people that were in the programs. I was chosen to be in the programs because of my connection with the others already. I can feel them when they're coming, and I'll give you a good example of that. One night I was here on my property in my house here, and I felt them coming again, and I knew there was nothing to fear, but I wanted to show people something. So I put hasps on all my doors on the inside of my house, okay? And I locked them when everybody went to bed with padlocks. And I put the keys under the bed, in between the mattresses, me and my wife. I destroyed all the keys except for one key. And I put that under the bed in between, me and my wife, in between the mattresses and everything. We went to bed. Well, I put my camera next to my bed and everything. And about 2:30 in the morning, I woke up. Out of a dead sleep. I wasn't really asleep, but I felt that they were there. So I jumped up and ran down my hallway, and I'll be darned. Here's my side door to my house, wide open, the hasp wide open, everything there just flopping in the breeze, no lock, no anything. The door to my daughter's room is standing wide open. She's sound asleep. I jumped out of the house and out of my, off my porch and everything with my camera and just started taking pictures up and around in whatever direction I could. and I got pictures of orbs of a dissipating being. Also on the other side of my house, like it made it around the fence and was dissipating just as I came in and took pictures of it. So this is the type of interaction that I've had all my life. I've also had an individual that I've only seen twice in my lifetime that never ages. And it's an individual that I get information from every once in a while. But the fact of the matter is, all my information doesn't come from the military or anything like that. Most of it comes from these beings that are telling me what's going on. And they're also the other ones that told me there's going to be a great distraction during this time to pull people away from the truth, what's going on. And I think it has a lot to do with, the other people in this movement that are trying to stop the truth from coming out, basically, in many ways.
It's almost like Gaia and gang are part of the distractor.
Yeah, I'll have to say that. I don't like to, point.
Without more evidence, I know this is like gossip and rumor and speculation.
Yeah,
I'm just summarizing
where I'm heard.
Yeah, I don't name names right at this point.
Where I'm at with this right now is I'm just seeing the people that are out there that are really trying to condemn other people for their experiences. And it hasn't happened to me. And even if they tried it, I wouldn't care. I really don't care. I've had my experiences. I know what they are. And they're 100% real. And there's no false memories or anything. Because not only has it happened to me, it's happened to my family. This is a generational thing. Mm-hmm. It just isn't something that one person sees and it's over with. And my spiritual experiences and my depth of understanding spirituality, what it is, and my development, the things that I went through in my lifetime with these beings, watching the earth, every single thing they've told me so far has come true. So do I doubt when they come and give me information? No. I believe them before I believe most people on this planet right now, because number one, these beings have never, ever, ever lied to me. They're 100% truthful of what's going on, and there's no fighting amongst them to get one belief system or another out. We're all in this boat together, as they say. The big situation is our mentality. Are we going to let ourselves as individuals rise up high enough to float above all this crap and BS that's going on? Or are we going to get involved with it? And I like what you said there. You're not going to make any judgments until, all the facts are on the table, and that's the way I am too. But I have noticed that it seems that there is a particular area that I almost want to say disinformation to a point, and condemning others. And that's not good. We should all be working together to find out the truth. Just like this mummy you were talking about. The heck with PayPal and all this? That shows you there's a corporation trying to make money here. What you do, you throw it on the table free and let everybody look at it, and let private investigators come in and see what they think as well. Right.
Take the DNA and do the analysis, and that's the proof right there. What will the DNA show? Is that just got a monkey? But I'll tell you from what I saw, it's got 3 fingers, and from what I saw, they have at least, they have 4 because they have an opposing finger, and that mummy didn't have an opposing finger. So how do they lift things? Although they're very long, maybe they curled around enough. I'm trying to think of how that works mechanically. The extremely long fingers. But
I've seen beings with 3 fingers, but I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them like that mummy looks like. And so that's my discrepancy in there. There's some things in there that I look at and go, that's not quite like what I've seen, and that's all I have to go by.
Right. Although there could be other species. It's not that we've seen every species that exists everywhere. So.
Oh yeah.
What did you have a question, Penny?
Well, I want to know about Plan B already.
Oh, Plan B.
The utopia.
Yes. Plan B. Timeline B.
Okay. Well, timeline B is where everybody finally gets their act together, and they get rid of the political systems that are in place right now, and they go to it. And I know people are going to freak out when I say this. It's more of a global council where people working together, for food production, for getting off of this world, because we all know that planets, change over periods of time, and part of that is what we're going through now. Part of it has been created, actually. But the fact of the matter is, we're going through a time period right now where we could grow, and this is what I've seen. I've seen plenty of food. I've seen less people. Now, this is the interesting thing. Either scenario, there was less people. It would seem like we just found that balance point. And we knew what to do. There was no government saying you couldn't have kids or anything like this, but people just knew we can have kids now or we can't have kids now or whatever. This was something that was within the individuals, and which we're starting to see that actually within our societies now. People making particular choices not to have children. They see what's going on with the planet. I also see, along with this situation, a totally new mindset about religion and things of this nature. It's, there's a lot of good things in all books out there, shall we say, religious materials, but the dogmatic control aspect of it, we've lost. It went away. It totally gone. And it was a spiritual aspect instead of religious aspect that humanity was growing off of. There was no such thing really as I'm in a Californian, you're a Texan, any of this type of stuff anymore. It was, we came from this area or this area. And another thing, when I was in the program, everything was called, within the core, within the programs, so that's another aspect there that happens in the future. It's one simple thing, everybody's working together. The whole thing about the ETs and everything is laid on the table. Everybody knows about them. Everybody's working together. We're working together with some of these species that are out there in a very positive way. And those other ones, the other ETs and things that are out there that were negative and everything, we kind of have a coalition going against them during these future times. But I do see a galactic thing where people are getting together and they're working together and they're helping one another and they care for one another. But there's a bigger plan, a galactic plan here that people really have to understand. We got to get out of just the me, the I, the I'm better than so on. So we have to look at a balanced equality to our existence, and that's what I see in the future. And nothing is a utopia, shall we say? I like what you said about the utopian society. It was too boring, and it is. We have to have challenges as human beings and everything. And part of the big thing is us colonizing other worlds and getting off this world so we can start re-terraforming and helping this planet get back together, as we're already doing on Mars, actually.
And that's a timeline that I clearly saw. And I was introduced to that also once again. I was 4 in 1958, and in 1966, Star Trek came out. And apparently, the information is coming out that Roddenberry was really in the know, and plus he had people that were contacting experiencers that were getting the concept of the Federation and what was going on there. So even if you look at the 60 years of Star Trek history now, they went through a point where they were just peacefully colonizing the planet. So they had a one world government. Everybody's peaceful. They went, like John Lennon said, imagine there's no countries, no religions. They went to a higher level of beyond dogma. But even once they got out into space, they had to introduce conflict. So they had like the Klingons and all these different races. But even over time, if you just watch this is a wonderful example for us of where we can go. They made friends with the Klingons and they brought them into the Federation. And that their enemy kept getting bigger, and eventually it was the Borg, and they're going to be all assimilated. So, and that's, that's what we can do. We can do a Star Trekian, although they do have a military construct, but we can do something that's very peaceful, and so we need to imagine it, wrap our heads around it, and we actually, if we do this, can go down that positive timeline that you and Andy and I have seen, and we are the choosers. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's kind of my preacher thing. That's what I see. And go ahead, Sash or William, you want to say something regarding that?
I know for me, this is the best of times and the worst of times by Dickens. And I am so utterly blissed out at being able to talk to everybody in the world over this radio station and to get your wisdom, William, and to be here with my wife and my cats and beautiful Maui. And I know people are suffering, but God, thank you, Great Spirit, for my life. I'm happy right now.
Yeah, I see this right now. It's one of the best times to ever be alive. I see so many things happening, so much growth happening, falling away of the old, and the beginning of the new. And that's exactly what I see.
Yeah.
Right. So we may have a closed system that they're saying, what is it? What do they call that? The enclosed system, but we do have the perturbations. So whenever a closed system gets too perverse, lo and behold, the outside perturbation comes in, which could possibly be externally outside with extraterrestrials, the good extraterrestrials coming in and finally making their presence known, or it could be maybe a combination of internally we meditate and we get to a spiritual point where we as humanity break out of our own cosmic egg and are born anew.
Yeah, and also there could be asteroids hitting, just like caused the sinking of the Minoan fleet and great astronomical events that drastically alter everything too. That our scientists probably even know about right now, and you probably even know about, William.
William, back to you. We have 2 minutes straight.
Yeah, we have some things coming, and some things I don't talk about because it's better to work on what we can do instead of what we can't do. Like I said, we've got, a lot of things that some things we can't do, nothing we can do. We can't change what's happening with our environment right now and everything real fast and all this. So we have to look at what we can do. And with me, that's where I'm at, is what we can do. And we need to start looking at that, opening our minds and taking that technology, that fine blend of old-fashioned ways and modern technologies, and instituting it into our systems right now that are going to be beneficial and more positive in nature. Get out of where we're at right now. We have to. We don't have long.
Thanks. Okay, we're up on our second break. You're listening to Divine Paradigm on KCOR. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
You are in the Divine Paradigm with Dr. Sasha Lessin and Janet Kira Lessin, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Some call it the height of human civilization.
Share your thoughts by calling the KCOR Digital Radio Network hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More positive potential revealed in the exploration of the paranormal after this.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
Hello? I can't hear you, but you can hear me, right?
Hang on, I want to make sure I understand. So a non-citizen can go over to a hospital and walk in and get emergency treatment. That never happens here.
What happens? Jobs are created. Guess what happens? The economy grows. Then you have more people paying taxes. Do they not understand?
I don't want to hear any more about Islam. I don't want to hear one more word about Islam. Take your religion and shove it up your behind. I'm sick of you.
Fatigued by the identical mind-numbing viewpoints up and down the dial?
You fat pig who lies on his back all day, demanding that everybody else subsidize them. What do you do, jerk? All right.
Well, listen to the master of provocative insight, Dwight Lilly, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Whether it's local or national news, Dwight has his finger on the pulse of the nation.
So now you've got a case where Cliven Bundy, in an interview first broke in the New York Times, his comments are beyond repugnant to me. They are beyond despicable to me. They are beyond ignorant to me.
The Dwight Lilly Show, never restrained and always opinioned. Talk without the fluff.
The world is about to change forever.
Get your weekly dose of truth every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific and 10 p.m. Eastern, only on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Looking for a radio show like no other?
We need something brand new.
Then tune in to the KCOR Digital Radio Network, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and get ready for the quantum shift. The world is evolving around us. Will you be ready for the shift?
This is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make.
The Quantum Shift. Hosted by Dr. Sam Muggsy, will enlighten your understanding of the world and bring you mentally into a better understanding of existence. The Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Live Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots of the higher consciousness.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Become part of the show by calling the KCOR Digital Radio Network hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Tweet your thoughts anytime by using hashtag KCOR.
It's my favorite thing to do every day.
Escape the Matrix and join the conversation live in our chat room at www.kcorradio.com. Now, back to Divine Paradigm with your enlightened hosts, Dr. Sasha Lessin and Janet Kira Lessin.
And we are back, Janet, Sasha, and William White Crow. Sasha, what do you want to say?
Okay, well, we were looking at last time, we had alluded to there may be very catastrophic events that are beyond what individuals can control. And I'm reminded in my studies of the ancient Anunnaki. When the Anunnaki had bombed Canaan and Sinai, and a radioactive cloud spread north and toward Sumer, and everybody was dying, and the Anunnaki got in their rocket ships and submarines and got away. But Bao, the princess, the daughter of the king of Nibiru, who is married to Ninurta, the great warrior, she stayed, and she died with the people of her city, Lagash, ministering to them. And so that what it reminds me of is, even if things terrible may be in the offing, it's like, I guess Hoffman said, today is a good day to die. Today is a good day to live. And if you have that in your heart, then you can dig whatever it is and do the best you can with the path that you've got to walk right now.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true. I really like what you said there.
So, William, I guess this last part, we'd like to focus on a couple things. We have a question, and our listener, Cheryl Francis, wants to know, well, does Dr. Lessin, but does any of us see a mass landing happening within 2 years or an event? When you were working for the military or the powers that be, or with your downloads or shamanic experiences, have you seen anything like this, the event that people are talking about?
No, I don't see anything like that within this next 2 years. I do see it later on into the future, but I do not see that within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm reminded in 1947 there was a massive flyover Washington D.C. that Michael Sala has really documented with official documents, and this really did set the whole government truth embargo in high gear, and so that those kind of things have happened. And from my perspective, is we are right now, we still have a great fluidity here in Los Estados Unidos, but however, it takes just one either false flag like the Twin Towers or one natural disaster for there to be emergency states of different degrees of severity, all the way up to martial law, while we still have a certain kind of administration run by the deep state murderous mafiosa. So that right now is a window. There's still time. Okay,
there's still time, and just. I saw a download. I did not get a time frame where they simultaneously appear major ships over every city, major and small, and so it's a mass sighting that the whole world sees at the same time. So there's absolutely no doubt. And then that scenario kind of played out later that year with that. What was that movie called where they had the 12 ships parked? It was a very lovely movie. It was later on that same year, whatever year that was. The Arrival. Yeah. Okay, so thank you. I hope that answered your question.
It was clear as mud, but it covered the ground.
There we go. Okay, so William, we don't have a lot of time, and we want to cover a little bit, and we will definitely have you back as many times as we need to cover this story because it's incredible. Sure. And so, about your what do you call it? When you were stationed on other planets, when you visit other planets like Mars and the Moon, tell us about that. What was that about? What did you see?
Sure.
What were the circumstances that got you there?
Well, I'll be honest with everybody right off the top, and I've said this on other shows too. Mars is home, and I just feel such a pull to that world. It is unbelievable. I've been there. I know what it. Even before I've been there. I guess that's the best way to put it. Because we have genetic memory. But basically on Mars, when I got there first in the programs and everything, you go there, they take you to the planet, you get to step outside, you get to experience the environment, you get to experience some of the life forms in classrooms, they explain everything to you before you leave here. And when we first went there, we went in a ship, it wasn't a jump room, because we didn't have the full technology at that time. They had it, but it wasn't working the way it needed to. We lost, several people. But the main thing on Mars, people have to understand, there's flowing water there. There's rivers there. There's lakes there. There's forests there. And some of the presentation, my presentation started, it was supposed to start at one time, but it ended up starting because of whatever difficulties they had, at the Mars conference, 45 minutes late. So I didn't even get a chance to do my whole presentation. But the pictures in there, I tried to give everybody an idea of what was going on. I showed the lakes. I showed the trees around the lakes. I showed other life forms there, the snake-type creatures that Andrew and I have talked about. I showed tracks of creatures and equipment. Also, you've seen some of the tracks where you've seen one track and another track kind of come off of it and go off. That's what we call the Bulldog. And that's a craft that carries 6 individuals in it, and it's wheeled. And it's a wheel, but there's spaces in between the deals. So when it walks, I'd have to draw a picture, put it on my website one day for everybody to understand. And you take off, you do your explorations this way and that way, So we got a complete system up there. We definitely, the base that I was on up there is circular. It goes down 3 different levels. All the power requirements that we ever wanted and everything were taken care of. The anti-grav aspects of planning. Traveling within the system, underground facilities. We went into the side of a mountain, and one craft is just like a big square in the side of a cliff, and you go right in there. And as you go in, it can split and go 2 different ways. So you have the smaller craft go to the right and the larger craft which go to the left. And I also put that up on the Mars presentation too. That is there as well. We used to be on the surface in the beginning. A lot of people want to talk about Mars, well, how come we stopped going to the moon and everything? Well, that's very simple. Number one, we were told we weren't ready to be dealing with what was there. And we also turned around and took our sites and put them on Mars. So all the time that people weren't thinking we weren't going to the moon and why we weren't going to the moon, we were going somewhere else. We were going to Mars because we already had the technology, the know-how, and the understanding to do it. And so that's where we were. As they do have, when I was there, I didn't see millions of people like a lot of people talk about and things of this nature. All the individuals that I dealt with and within the programs and everything, I knew was about 1,200 individuals, that I knew for a fact that were out there. The 2 other stations, also they were taking readings of Europa because we know that there's life there as well. We've also seen tracks there. There's just so much that is going on there. The life forms, most of the life forms on Mars live under the sand and in the crevices and things. And there's some tentacled creatures out there too that can reach out from these crevices and grab things and pull them in. The atmosphere, I don't believe a darn thing you hear when the scientists say, well, it's the red planet. Blah, blah, blah. When we landed there, the sky was a baby blue. It was just a beautiful place. It looked like, shall we say, one of our areas on the planet here where it's not quite desert, but not quite mountain either. You know what I mean? With the rocks and everything of this nature. And so it was there. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. And, all this was there. You could see it. They had some creatures that were not too good to us, and Andrew had talked about that, the pterodactyl type bird creature, which is not there anymore. That had a priority, take that thing out because it's just too dangerous. Because it is a different type of rule there. It isn't. And a lot of people ask me, well, why didn't you take pictures in that? Come on. If you're in these programs, you're caught with a camera or any type of intelligence on you, you're gone. It is that simple.
Right.
Nobody's going to let you. Go ahead.
Did you eradicate those birds? Those swooping menace birds?
The teams that were up there after I was gone, I heard that's they're gone. They're no more. If there are, they're on some other areas of the planet. But we got to think also that we've only looked at 10% of Mars as far as society is looking at right now. There are still another 90% of the planet that nobody has ever seen. I mean, we've seen it. That's how we know that, certain areas there's more of a gravitational field. There's more of a magnetic field in some areas than there is others. Around the central part of the planet, when you get down to deep pockets, you have more oxygen, than you would have in other areas because oxygen is a heavier gas compared to the other ones there. You can breathe partially for a period of time. So this is something that people if they haven't been there, they haven't been in the programs, they don't understand how all these factors work together. So they didn't work. Go ahead.
The United States government, are these facilities, is this program the United States program, and there could be other programs by other humans, or are there any ancient facilities or other species from previous races or settlements?
Yeah, there's other species that are on there too. As a matter of fact, we do know for a fact that the Greys are there and the Nordics are there too. As a matter of fact, we caught some of their craft coming down with the rover photographs, coming down onto the Earth, not to the Earth, but to Mars. And the way they do it on Mars is when these other beings are coming in and everything, they'll shine a bright light up from the surface where they're at. It's not, we use GPS, they do the same thing. But this indicates these are like a green light, red light kind of thing. I'm not saying they have green lights, but if we have an airport and we're going to land, we'll have certain indicators on that flight line that'll let you know if it's a takeoff point or a landing point or whatever. The same thing as there, it's just different. They don't have to have a landing gear to, land on a long runway and everything because they have the capacity. And because of the gravitational field of that planet as well, that they can land very easily, go straight down into the holes, into the ground where these bases are, things of that nature too. We are working together with beings up there, There's 3 of these in particular beings that I had mentioned before on Mars and out in space as well. And that's how come sometimes you'll see the space shuttle and everything going around the Earth and you'll see 2 orbs, craft that'll come up to it and watch them. They're not there just to turn around and look at us. We're communicating with them as well. So that's a very important thing that people need to understand. We are already working with some of these, but the fact of the matter is this civilization, and that's the only way that I could describe it. This breakaway civilization lives there among us and lives among our star system too. They have all the toys that we would like to have and all the agendas that we would like to have going out there and terraforming. That's why we're on Mars right now. We're terraforming it, and we're terraforming it big time. And that's how come all of a sudden, in the last 10 years, 11 years or so, that all of a sudden there's a higher methane increase on the planet. Oh, interesting. Now we found gravitational waves. They have to let this information out. Part of it is because of the rover pictures, also because of the orbiter pictures, and because too much information is getting out by who? The public on what's really going on out there. So notice when Andrew, he was out there, and then when I came out, Andrew found me up on my compound up here, and finally after a year talked me into, coming out and talking about this on the radio and everything, stuff of this nature that, they have a really good thing going out there right now. And all of a sudden they started putting, we need teachers, we need psychologists, we need workers for Mars. And now think about that the last 2 years. And all of a sudden they needed all these people for these Mars programs. And military people, generals were talking about it. And now all of a sudden, boom, they're calming down again, And they're calming down about the same time that you got a bunch of people out there that are trying to talk crap or say that other people's memories and things weren't right. So you kind of look at these two things that are going on right here. Maybe they're working together. But the fact of the matter is, we are working with other beings out there. There is a breakaway civilization. The things that I've seen on Mars and that we have bases on. Come on, let's face it. Our astronauts even know that we have structures on the moon itself where people are in there. One of our astronauts, when they went over and they seen 4 or 5 of these dome structures inside of a crater, perfect dome structures, they said, boy, those people don't get out there. And that it came out at the Mars presentation too from the individual that was there. So we have to look and realize that this isn't just a country thing. This is a completely different society that is thriving off all the other political leaders and the scientists and things. A lot of the people that microbiologists and all this, they say that are killed off and everything. Well, they're just simply transferred off planet or into the programs. And you never see them again. They're given new identities. They live off-world. They're part of a situation that is going to be very beneficial to them and their families in the future. That's how come those of us that have been in the program know that our genetics are going to continue on, because they had to have our genetics for us to be in the program anyway. They knew about me before I went into any military programs. They sat down with me. The military did. Sergeant Simpson, which found out was a colonel later on, turn around and they asked me every question about my youth and my interaction with these other beings. And they knew about it because I answered them and told them the truth and everything, and they smiled. And they said, well, welcome to the club. So wow. They knew everything already about me. That's why they wanted me in the programs. And I think it's the same thing with a lot of people.
Oh, I know that. I was on a military base in Johnston Atoll, and the moment I landed, they were all over me. So they knew that I was part of the program, even though they didn't reveal it to my conscious mind. And I always suspected. I was going, what is all this attention about? Why are they, talking to me every day for an hour to 2 hours? I'm supposed to be working, doing data entry. Yeah. So I never did what I was supposed to do. I was in some kind of program, but they weren't revealing it to me consciously. But you're one of the people that they revealed it to you consciously, because you were going to, the Mars base. Now, your story resonates with what we heard from John Titor II, and he said that he was on all, Mars, Moon, and beyond. His that our government, world government, has, or the United States part, or whoever this is, has a treaty with the 4 major species: the Greys, reptilians, mantis, and humanoids, tall humanoids. So that correlates as well. We're going to be running out of time here. What do you want to ask?
Well, there's just one little question. Louis Reinhardt has this hypothesis that some of the rock sculpture that you find in different areas indicate different kinds of townships or settlement areas, and I wanted what your reaction.
Yeah, basically, it's just like here. If we turn around and go to Africa or Egypt or anywhere, they're going to have symbols and representations of their cultures and things like that. And that's a big thing what we did and the scientists did on Mars. The ones that I was watching over reconnoiter areas, and they'd come out and we'd go out and they would gather all this information from these ancient civilizations, ancient technologies, from crash ships that were already there. And there's a lot more to it. Like you said, we just don't have the time that we can go really into depth and get everything going. But you're right. Yeah, there are certain areas up there where the architecture and things of the past civilization was different. And that's probably a lot where the conflict and everything came in that happened up there in one of the time jumps that I was involved in into a past time period Mars. And it showed when the atmosphere was deteriorating and they were collecting samples and DNA and all. I mean, there was just a ton of stuff that they were doing. But yeah, you're right. Who
was the day that was doing that? Was it, and Sasha's a quick question, but we're almost out of time. Who was the day that when you went to the past? Who was it? The Anunnaki? Because we have an Anunnaki story that we have researched and fleshed out in our research.
I didn't understand your.
But what do you?
I didn't understand your question.
You said you went to the past and you saw that there was a lot of disruptions going on. They were scrambling to preserve DNA and stuff. Who was the Zay that you were viewing or interacting with?
This was several species at the same time, but it was mainly us and our scientists when they made the jumps back to grab as much DNA and technology as they can to bring it back to the present time, so they would have a history, a genetic history of Mars's past.
And has there been an analysis of the genetics, and have they determined who those people were that were on Mars in the past?
Yeah, they were definitely dealing with the Anunnaki at that time and one other race, and I don't have that name. I'm one of the few people that made a lot of notes back then and put them in boxes. And so I've been pulling those notes out and rereading them and everything, and and it brings back a lot of your memories, because that's a long time ago. But the fact of the matter is, there's two particular species during that time. There was a war, there was a physical conflict going on, the battles happening. It had to do with part of the war in heaven thing. Part of them wanted to come to Earth and take over the Earth because of what was happening there. And there was a massive conflict. So part of that space fleet that had left Mars because of the impacts that were coming wanted to come here basically and take over, and the other part said no. So that's where the Great War in Heaven come from basically now, that you see in the Bible and everything. They wanted us to continue on as we were. They could live here, but they could not take over the planet and interfere with the species that were here at the time. So that's some of the other information that I had learned as well.
Okay, Sasha, do you have a final question?
Just what you're saying totally confirms the account that Stuart Swerdlow, who was one of the heads of the Montauk project in the first part of the time, and basically said that when the Dracos sent a hollow planetoid through that destroyed Malduk and made the Kuiper belt, and then sucked a lot of the surface from Mars water, but the Maldecans had taken shelter underneath with the Martians, and the Martians who'd also gone underneath and gotten some kind of protective material from the coast. But in any case, they were all Lyran refugees running from the Dracos, and then as this planetoid went past Earth, it sucked up most of the water. It was and water vapors, and Lemuria and Atlantis arose. But in any case, some of the Martians ultimately, the Maldecans, came to settle in the Gobi Desert, and other groups that were brought to try to control the Dracos, who were trying to make a comeback. They'd all retreated, left Venus, which is what this body became, and they set the moon in place as to invade Earth, but ultimately they lost to the combined forces of the Galactic Federation. Anyway, my data seems to be exactly like yours.
Right. Well,
it's interesting. We haven't met. I'd like to say one thing, though, real quick here. I've seen a question in chat about the gravity on Earth and everything. I mean, about Mars. Let me put it this way. If you take a football and throw it on Mars compared to here, you're going to be able to throw that football about 6 times further than you can here. So there's your answer.
Awesome. Interesting. Okay, we have 2 minutes to close. Your final words. Go ahead, William.
I think that if everybody turns around and does a study and everything, don't listen to the dogma, don't listen to the nothing, no, this is all false and that's false. Use your intuition, do your research. You're going to find out that there's a lot more going on out there with Mars, with space, with the breakaway civilization, with ours. We need to bring ourselves up to a point in humanity now to become that class 1 civilization. That is our goal, and they want us to help us do that. But we have to make that decision as human beings on this planet ourselves. We can't have it, and we can't have a great future, but we have to start doing things about it right now to make it that way.
And your website and your book.
WilliamWhitecrow.com is my website. My book is Are You Tired of Living a Toxic Life? And I had to write that because I just seen too many people out there depressed on what was going on in their lives and the world around them. And this is a workbook that a person can put in their pocket and highlight and use every single day of their life, or get to help other people. Other people about this book to give other people, and it's really helped them out. Also, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn too, so you can get me any of those places. Also, I have a YouTube channel, and I have my radio show too. It's on truthfrequencyradio.com out there, and I'm on every Sunday from 4 to 5 p.m. on truthfrequency.com. And then after that, my shows are posted on YouTube, so you can see them there too. So you can get a hold of me anytime at williamwhitecrow.com, at yahoo.com too.
Well, thank you so much, William. We had a wonderful time. We will have you back again. And much love and blessings and aloha to our listeners. You're listening to the
Divine Paradigm on KCOR.
Aloha.
In 3, 2, 1.
Until next week, we must leave the world of the divine paradigm. But always remember, you all exist on more than one plane or dimension. And there is a shift coming. A shift to universal consciousness. A shift to the divine paradigm.
Divine paradigm. Divine paradigm.
For more information on the divine paradigm, as well as the hosts, Dr. Sasha Lessin and Janet Kira Lessin, please visit their website at aquarianradio.com. Divine Paradigm, live every Tuesday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Your transformational future is at hand.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist. This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.